OU football is still under lock and key, so what secrets have we been able to discover? Let's find out today. Hello, I'm Deputy Sports Editor Mike Koehler, and welcome to this week's edition of OU Football with Jake Trotter. Jake, the Sooners had a scrimmage on Saturday, but like most of this post the preseason, it's been closed to the media and the public. First question of the show, what have we been able to learn about what the Sooners are working on, and is this where the no huddle is coming in?
Well, I think that's one of the things they're working on behind closed doors. I don't know what they've been working on necessarily. I haven't been spying, so honestly, I'm not sure exactly what they've been doing. But I think the biggest thing is obviously working on the no huddle offensively, trying to develop the continuity there, and then also in the defensive backfield, trying to get familiar with what their best four players are going to be, and then also figuring out who the linebackers are going to be other than Ryan Reynolds.
Well, you talked a little bit about the secondary. The Sooners have been shuffling some old faces back in the old spots, most notably Lindy Holmes returning to one of the starting cornerback spots. Tell me what's been happening there. What's it going to look like once opening day rolls around?
The surprise of the preseason was the fact that Lindy had moved back to cornerback, especially since Dominique Franks and Brian Jackson had such good springs, Jonathan Nelson too. Wouldn't shock me to see Lindy Holmes back at free safety for the season opener, but he could remain at number one corner. I think that there are couple things trying to motivate Dominique Franks, and then I think secondly they're trying to, just in case something happens, they feel comfortable moving Lindy to corner if they have to at some point during the season. But also, they could leave him there, and that gives you a guy with experience and maybe some lockdown capability in the defensive backfield.
So who's the odd man out in all that mix? I mean,
right now the odd man out is Dominique Franks, and he was a starter in the spring. If Lindy were to move back to safety, the odd man out would be probably Sam Proctor, although I think he would play a lot still.
But they've been saying some good things about him.
They have, and he had a really good spring. He's a redshirt freshman, is a new guy, but athletically he's a freak. I mean, he's a really good-looking player. So it just depends what they feel like their best four is, and I think they're experimenting right now. But the guys in the mix are basically Lindy, Dominique, Brian Jackson, Nick Harris, and Sam Proctor. I think one of those five guys will be the odd man out.
Is it a matter of it's four good guys, or are they still going to be down talent-wise there, or you think the guys they roll out there are still going to be?
I think they're going to be talented. I think the thing is experience. Especially at cornerback, where you make one misstep and that's a touchdown. And they play a game early on against UC, likes to pass the ball, and then Washington, the quarterback Jake Locker, can throw the ball about 90 yards down the field. So they'll be tested early, and I think they just want to make sure that they got their four best guys.
All right, let's talk about this. The other deep unit that they have, and that's something you wrote about this weekend, about the depth of the offensive line. How many interchangeable parts do the Sooners have there, and what do you think that's going to look like, when they open the season?
It's amazing to think about how deep they are on the offensive line. Their five starters come back from last year. I think those are obvious. And then they have guys like Trent Williams, who could probably start tackle for a lot of teams. They got Brian Simmons, who played a great deal last year. He'll rotate in. Then they got a bunch of talented young players like Donald Stevenson at tackle, Corey Brandon at tackle, Stephen Good at guard, who could also play tackle if they needed him to. Another guy is Jason Hannon and Ben Haburn at center. I mean, they're just so loaded on the offensive line. I think what they want to do is try to get some of the younger guys some quality experience this year, not just the fourth quarter against Tennessee Chattanooga, but some real experience so that next year when all five starters leave, they're not playing from an empty deck.
Alrighty, thanks, Jake. Be sure to follow all of your OU football news with the best coverage team in the state at newsok.com, newsok.tv, and every day in the Oklahoman. We'll be back next week with another edition of OU Football with Jake Trotter.